What's going on, guys? This is Jack, aka Pack Joel, coming at you with a deck profile for my True Draco deck that I've been playing for about a month or so. I played it back in the day when the meta was a little different, and obviously they had more cards than they do now. But I didn't play it as much. But I've really been starting to play it a lot more now, consistently, just because honestly, this is a really good format for True Draco. Especially when the Megatens get released and that spell that's coming out that really hurts combo decks comes out, and it's going to make this deck a lot more powerful, I believe. It's honestly probably one of the better decks to play going into the format, since it seems like it's going to be more of a control-based, format. Konami, it seems like they're, trying to slow the game down a bit and keep it from hard combo decks being, the bane of every other deck that exists. Especially, with Guard Dragon Link pretty much being the main engine for most combo decks as long as they play dragons, which, I mean, if you really look at it, most most combo decks can play dragons. So, Pendulum, Crusadia, Thunder Dragon, they're really hard-hitting decks that if you don't stop, them from getting to the LP combo, you kind of just have to take it, and if you don't see your sides, a deck like this can't really perform to its, main ability to be able to control the game state. If they have enough negates on board, you're not really going to get to any of your stuff, and most likely you're going to pass your turn with a very wonky board that you'll probably get OTK next turn. But I'm not going to go too much into the meta. Maybe into the future I will make more videos giving my little opinion, for what it's worth, on what I think, different cards and meta and how everything's changing. It seems like this new format's going to be pretty interesting for the most part, so I'm really interested to see what's going to detail in the future, and if the new support that's coming in the Mega 10 is going to make it more of a balanced game state, so where it's not just combo decks running the meta. So I'm going to go right into the deck profile, guys. I really hate doing this deck profile for the simple reason that it's my first one, and I'm missing a card that I guess I just lost at a tournament. It's not a big deal. It's basically a bulk rare card. You'll see later on in the video. It really depresses me, but I really wanted to bring this deck profile, guys, to your attention. I also had a friend, shout out to Jake, that wanted a deck list, and I figured the best way to do that would just be going into a deck profile. I'm gonna try to make this as short as possible. I don't want it to lag on for a long time, but I figured for it's my introduction video, you're actually hearing my voice compared to the live duels that I've recorded. The past couple videos I uploaded, I'd rather give you more of a detail to what's going to be in the future for this channel. But anyway, welcome to Galaxy Gaming. We're small locals in Ohio, but we're hoping to make a name for ourselves later on. We have a lot of people that are very competitive for the most part, and a lot of us are very in tune with going to regionals, YCSs, UDSs, ARGs, you name it. We're really in tune with the meta, and we really understand the game, and we really at some point want to make more of a wave at some point. But like I said, we're a small locals, but we do have a lot of competitive players. But anyway, guys, into the deck profile. I play one Dynamite, simply for the reason it's at 1. I was hoping maybe it could have went to 2, but unfortunately we're not that lucky. I play 3 Ignis just because you have to. It's the best card in the deck. It keeps the recursion going, especially being able to get Disciples. Every turn, even Heritage, if you already have Disciples, it really keeps the plays going heavily. I play 3 Magistines. I believe this is definitely the right ratio, just because you really want you don't play a lot of monsters as it is, and you really still want to be able to see a monster turn 1 with at least other stuff. So I definitely believe that this is the right ratio. There was times where I cut this down to 2, but I just don't feel like it's good enough, and you definitely need to be able to still see a monster. So sometimes you see a couple more monsters than you'd like to, but you still need to see them, and this deck doesn't really play any monsters other than this, unless you play, Inspector Board or Yama, Wada, whatever. But I just play these monsters. I feel like it's all you need. This is a pretty heavy trap deck at this point, especially off the ban list. You'll see in the rest of the video what I mean by that. 1 Terraforming, because it's just 1. Believe it or not, people said, ooh, that kind of hurts True Draco, but believe it or not, not really. The only time I want to see 2 Diagram is if I have the necessary hand to manipulate Heritage to get me as many draws as possible. So if I see 2 Diagram, but I have a bunch of other stuff that isn't True Draco related, it's actually a brick. And a lot of people don't realize that. They just think, oh, Diagram pop, search. You really want to be able to get as much value as you possibly can from the True Draco cards before you, set your stuff past turn. If you have a lackluster board where you have like maybe one monster if you're lucky with a couple sets, you know, if you don't have a waste stop Twin Twister, you're already pretty much going to lose at that point, and you don't really want to waste a Solemn Judgment on a Twin Twister. So, you know, like I said, you really want to end, your best board could be ending with like a monster diagram and 5 set. That's like your maximum good board. And the lowest it could be is like, if you're lucky, a monster and 2 traps, and that's really lackluster. Sometimes, especially if you don't have a diagram, your monster is open to just being able to get ran over, because even though they're bigger monsters, there's a lot of decks that can make bigger monsters as well. You know, but for the most part, seeing 2 diagrams in that big is not that great. So 1 terraforming really doesn't mess with the deck at all. Speaking of a diagram, 3 diagram, because it is still at 3, unlike the OCG, and it's pretty busted, and it definitely makes this deck still viable. Onto the True Draco spells. I play 3 True Draco Heritage. This is the best one, honestly. Like, there's been times I've been able to resolve, you know, 3 draws, and it's really nice. You know, because most of the time, they're going to use their hand trap for diagrams, so if you can bait that, but still have a decent hand, you can usually still get, like, 2 draws off of this. So that's one thing I like about diagrams. It's the biggest bait factor, because they really think that if they stop your diagram, your turn's over, but usually it's not the case, depending on how good your hand already was. So, a Heritage is probably the best, in my opinion, draw factor in the deck, other than a card I'll get to, you know, later on here soon. 3 Disciples. This is, you have to play max amount of the True Draco cards. I mean, I've seen people play 2 of this, but here's the problem. If you play less than 3 of this, the second you lose these, your recursion factor is gone. If you're in a grind game with either another control deck or even a, you know, even a combo deck that's, you know, played past its ability of just negating your stuff, you need recursion for later on so you can keep your plays going. The second this card is done, which is the reason that I've took out the Pot of Desires I was playing, is the second this card is gone, you almost need to win immediately, because your recursion is gone, you no longer have a way to keep recycling your stuff, you immediately have to just go off top decking, or hopefully have diagrams to be able to search what you need, but even then, it's still not as good as just being able to put back the stuff and then draw maybe into one that you wanted from the grave. So you really need to keep this in rotation. The second this is no longer accessible in your deck, you're in a bad spot. So I definitely think 3 Disciples is a must. I tried it at 2 and I just did not like it at all. 3 Card Demise. This is what I was talking about, the other draw factor that makes this broken. You know, there's so much stuff to bait up into this, especially if they don't know you have it. There's been so many times I baited them consistently, and then I just, you know, drop this, and then boom, immediately get back my advantage, making them neg with the hand trap they used on something that really probably wasn't that relevant compared to this. So if you have the hand to be able to bait, you definitely want to save this for last, because this gets you all your advantage back, and it's just, it's a necessary card in this deck, 100%. 3 Pot of Duality. I was playing 2. I tried it for a while. I've tried different builds of this, but I really feel like you need to see every type of search or excavating or draw to powering card, or you're in a bad spot, because you need to be able to get as much advantage as possible, setting your opponent back a step, and hopefully being able to, you know, crush them next turn after you stun them on theirs. So I feel like Pot of Duality is extremely necessary, just because it helps you get to the combo piece you don't already have in your hand, which a lot of times you could be missing 1 or 2 cards, and that can help you get there. So definitely play 3 of that. This is the card I'm unfortunately missing 1 of. I don't know. I think someone banished 1 of mine in a duel, I think a week or so ago, and I just don't think I noticed that it was gone. And because this deck is pretty thick, it's at 45, but believe it or not, it doesn't throw off the consistency at all. Sometimes I overload with a little bit of traps, but sometimes it can be good enough. But unfortunately, I am missing 1, which is not a big deal. I know our shop has them in the $2 to $4 box, so I'm not really worried about it. But that kind of sucks, knowing that I'm missing a trap, especially when I wanted to do this deck profile, because I was going to upload it yesterday. And the 1 missing card kind of set me back of my creativity, and was just like, nah, I'm just going to wait. But I couldn't help it. I wanted to make the deck profile, so just use your imagination. This is obviously, you know, 3 Apocalypse, because you need to play this is the best, one of the best traps in the deck that you definitely need to play 3 of for sure. It is definitely very helpful. 3 Monarchs Erupt. I'm playing just, you know, the pure without the extra deck, and I feel like this is definitely necessary, because it is literally skill drain. And the fact that it doesn't go away until the end of your end phase, when they get rid of your Tribute Zone monster, is really nice, just because you could always get it back on field before the end of your turn, and then it's still live. So it is definitely necessary to play 3 of these if you're not playing an extra deck, because it's just, it's won me so many games I can't even count. I mean, it is such a blowout for most decks, especially Pendulum, Thunder Dragon, pretty much any combo based deck. that relies on some type of monster, effects going off that can just win you the game. So I play 3 Crackdown. This is actually extremely necessary, and I see a lot of True Draco players not playing this, but I feel like this is extremely necessary because, well, first off, stealing their monster and interrupting their combo is just obviously a blowout. And secondly, this is really good for your turn because if you don't want to waste, popping stuff with your diagram that you would rather just save onto for, next turn or recursion for next turn, you just pop their monster, you crack down, and you immediately, get advantage and get rid of their monster all at the same time so that they can't get rid of the crackdown and get control back of their monster. So I feel like crackdown is definitely a necessary trap, and it's a blowout for a lot of decks that rely on one specific monster or two to continue their combo. I play 3. There can only be 1. This is a blowout against Pendulum. You play this card and they're in a bad spot if they don't have a way to get rid of it immediately. And sometimes it makes them waste resource to get rid of it. So I feel like it's definitely necessary. And this is just good against a lot of decks that rely on the same type of monster. I mean, hell, the other day, just out of a joke, just because it was funny to me, I was playing against the Blue Eyes, and I didn't realize how good this actually was against them until he summoned 4 Blue Eyes on the field, like different Blue Eyes, alternative, Spirit, that, and then I just flipped this and was like, wow, that actually just is OP. So, I mean, just against like decks in general that play against, the same type, it's really good against. And it doesn't really hurt you all like that because honestly, there's so many ways to get back your monsters on board or put them back into the deck and even draw into them. So I feel like There Can Only Be One is definitely necessary right now. And it blows out a lot of decks. Even Sky Striker, it even hurts them a lot, just, making them be frozen into using the same monster and not being able to get rid of that. They have to do it the hard way just to go into a different Sky Striker. So I feel like it's definitely a necessary trap right now at 3. You can't play hand traps, obviously, so I play the one hand trap you can play that is not a monster, Infinite Permanence. It's definitely necessary just because sometimes using this against their one monster can stun them for a turn, making them pass, and then you can set up your board and regain control of the board state. And I feel like that's extremely necessary because I was playing for the longest time without any hand trap at all. And for what it's worth, it's not the worst thing in the world. However, if you're playing against a combo deck, most of the time they're going to see their hand that they need to do what they need to do. So you need to have some type of manipulation in order to stop them a little bit, or at least be able to play on your turn. So I feel like it's necessary to play at least Infinite Impermanence, just so that you can, have a chance to actually play the game when they pass their turn and they have 6 negates. So if you can try to stop them from getting to that point, it's definitely good to, play at least Infinite Impermanence. I feel like it's necessary, especially now in this format, to definitely play Infinite Impermanence in the main deck. 3 Solemn Judgment. I love that they bring this back to 3 because that boosted this deck extremely heavily, and it's the bane of a lot of combo decks. I mean, this has won me a lot of games where I've seen like 2 of these, and at first glance it seems like it's a bad hand. But being able to stop both their main combo plays and waiting until they put all their effort into going into the one thing they wanted to get to, keep their combo going, and then Solemn Judgment in it is just so broken. And the fact that you can, if you see 2 of these and they red reboot and then you use the other one to stop red reboot, I mean, it is just soul crushing. And I've done that a couple times, and I love that they bring that back at 3, especially for this deck, specifically for my deck. So it helps a lot. I mean, I've seen, like I said, a lot of decks aren't playing it, and that's fine. It's all personal preference. You're definitely down to minimize it to keep it at 40 if you like the most consistent possible that you can go for. But I tell you what, honestly, like seeing a bunch of traps really isn't that big of a deal in this deck as long as you have some type of way to eventually get to a monster or a spell that lets you, dig into your deck. So it's really not the end of the world if you play a lot of traps in this deck because it usually can stun your opponent well enough to end up winning later on in the game, even if it's not right away. Believe it or not, main deck 1 Imperial Order. This may at some point get cut to the side again, but like right now, it seems like it's not a bad idea, and it's something that I can get rid of pretty easily, especially if I have like Majesties on board and search a monster for next turn, and then have this on board just to stun them for their turn. So I don't use this all the time right away. It's not like you do it on the first spell and just hope for the best. Like, no, you got to be kind of careful when you use this because it can kill you later on in the duel if you activate it too early. It can hurt you because obviously you play a decent amount of spells as well. However, if you get enough advantage later on in the duel and then use this, it could be the winning factor by just flipping that and then getting rid of it next turn for you to go off. So I feel like it's not the worst idea to main that currently. 1 Skill Drain. Love the promo artwork. It's amazing. I like the new text. Beautiful card. Skill Drain is definitely necessary just because obviously you don't need your effects to win the game, and Skill Drain can be the winning factor big time, just like Monarch's Erupt. I played 1 Return, obviously just because it's a 1. It's a really good trap. It can get you your monster back from grave, really helpful. and also pop a card if it goes. I play one of Waterfall. I only play one just for the simple reason that it's honestly just there to kind of make my opponent feel like he, wasted something to pop a monster of mine, especially if I can chain this and get rid of it anyway and then plus off of it. Or secondly, it's mostly for like card demise. If I have the set and later on I card demise, but I do it into monsters, I can use this if I already had it set a turn before, throw those monsters away, draw more, and just keep trying to get to a better hand that the card demise might not have gave me. Because sometimes card demise isn't guaranteed to get you, advantage or really good hand. So this can definitely be a factor that can get you there, and then maybe unbrick your hand if the card demise was lackluster. Anyway, guys, onto the side. Here's a token. This is our team. This is when it was its, at our prime. We had, I think there's like 12 people in this photo. It was a very good time. We had a lot of people play. A lot of people still play that are in this photo, but a lot of people either switch to different games or don't play as much, which is understandable. That's just how it is. But this is definitely our team. This is the Galaxy Game team. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera. I apologize if the camera is not the greatest quality. At some point, I'm going to use something other than the camera I currently have now. But anyway, this is our team of Galaxy Games. We've been playing for, like I said, for a long time now, and that was like at our prime, but we still have a lot of people that play in the meta and still play just the game in general, so it's really nice. 3 Inspector Border. I think this is better over Wada or whatever you call it, just simply for the reason that it stays on board, and also it's just a shutout to some decks that really rely on just one general monster going off, and it's just a body that stays on board. It's really easy to get another normal summon, quote unquote, tribute summon on board while also having him. There's been times where I'd like get him and then I'd also get a true Draco monster, so it's not the end of the world if you normal summon this and even end your turn, because as long as you have traps to back him up, it usually can be a showstopper to just blow them out. So I definitely feel like 3 Inspector Borders is must. Until we get the new supports, this will definitely be what I'm playing currently is 3 Roster mode. Like I said, you don't rely on your normal summon because you have ways to get an additional tribute summon with your spells. So I feel like 3 Roster mode, especially right now with combos still being the best decks, this is definitely a must, and it helps a lot getting over the negates so you can actually play your deck. Onto this, I play 3 Mystic Mind just because it's at 3 still, and why not? I hate this card, but you got to play it. It's in the meta right now, and it's just it can help you win games so many times. This probably will get sided out for the new spell that comes out that hurts combo decks maybe, depending on what I decide to do. But for now, it's definitely a must of 3 in my opinion. 3 Imperial Order. Simply for the reason that, orcs still exist and they're actually still hard to get around lightweight. And also if the off chance you play against, Thunder Dragon deck, like a Pure, it's not terrible against them, I guess. It's mostly just because there's some decks that really do rely on banishing still, and I feel like it's a decent floodgate I can always get rid of if I need to, which I don't really see the need to, but I think this will get probably taken out at some point, put evenly back in, because I find myself playing it, especially at our locals, a lot more control decks, and I'd rather have evenly because in that matchup it really, really helps. So I think I'll end up putting that back in. But this is a new addition to the side that will end the side and end the deck. 3 Anti-Spell Fragrance. I feel like it's extremely necessary right now. Pendulum are back to being really, really aggressive and really OP. Especially with the different builds that exist, especially with Endymion, Zephyr, whatever you want to, your personal preference think is the best version. But I feel like Anti-Spell is definitely a must right now just because it stunts them and keeps them from doing anything for the most part on their turn unless they already had a good enough hand to, push through it. But I definitely feel like this is necessary. It's probably the best side for it. And it's definitely something I can get rid of at any time as long as I have a monster. So, it hurts you a little bit, but it's easier to get rid of, and it's not as, heart crushing against you as, other stuff can be like Imperial or, other stuff like that. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Like I said, there's going to be way more in the future. I'm going to start doing deck profiles of all the people that, attend our locals and, just kind of, give you an idea who we are and what we're trying to do. We're real friendly people. We've been playing, like I say, playing this game for a long time. We're all pretty competitive, but we enjoy the game for the most part. We're all good friends. You know, we enjoy the game. Like, we've been enjoying this game for years and years and years, and we're really trying to, you know, at some point, you know, hopefully I'll start, like, you know, doing better in the game in general. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed my deck profile. Please like and subscribe if you like this. You don't have to, obviously. You know, I'm just trying to get some, you know, more followers because, you know, like I said, we're small locals, but it'd be nice if we got a little bit of clout for how small we are. We're lucky we even have locals for how small our area is. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Please have a great day and have a good one.